Roger, it's great to have you. So just gut reaction to the Robinhood IPO today. What are your thoughts?
Well, Kelly, this is super personal for me. I'm a huge believer in providing access to everybody to the financial markets. And when we were at Silver Lake, we invested in the predecessor firm to Ameritrade, which was the last big wave of discount brokerage aiming at consumers. And so I think the opportunity that Robin has is humongous. But, when you're looking at the stock, the challenge that you face is that we're very late in a long market cycle. And the way that the business works today, very high velocity trading, and with trading in a lot of new kinds of securities, things like cryptocurrency, and the model that Robinhood uses, it gives it a really high beta. So if the market's good, I think this is going to be a fantastic stock. And if the market's not good, right, I think the stock's, it's going to have some really, really rough days. But over time, their opportunity is huge, and they've clearly broken out relative to everybody else. So on balance, if you like the market, I think this is going to be a great stock to own.
But I thought maybe you'd come down on the other side of this, Roger, because if you have concerns, I know they're not quite the same, but your concerns about Facebook, there have been so many people critical of Robinhood for basically kind of sucking people in and turning them into addicts and turning the markets into a game. And, there's plenty of ways to get, democratization of finance. I mean, there's plenty of ways to get access to trading prior to Robinhood. It's just that their app was much more elegant.
Well, to be clear, I'm worried, terrified about all those issues. I mean, Robinhood is in many ways a source of systemic risk for the markets because the velocity, the dollars in it are now quite material. The velocity is huge. And for individual stocks, you can wind up having a disproportionate amount of the trading taking place inside Robinhood. And you have the whole issue of conflict with the firms that are buying the order flow in order to make the trades free. And so all of those things, because of Robinhood's centrality in a lot of the new markets like crypto, and because there's so much activity in options and futures, you look at this and say, wow, if things go wrong there, it's going to be a disaster. But again, I'm trying to separate from that issue, which has been around all the time, we've talked about endlessly, from now this is a stock well positioned for the future. I mean, again, I wish they were more careful. And I do believe that now that they're public, that will force them to be much more sensitive to issues of regulatory compliance and also to issues of not overcharging the markets that they're in, because they saw a few months ago what happens when you lose control that way.
So, Roger, clearly you're not anti-Robinhood, but you're worried about some of the risk for the markets overall. But what about people who are investing in Robinhood today? In the company's filings, and I mentioned this to our Leslie Picker, they even said the high concentration of retail investors could take these shares for a roller coaster ride, and the stock itself might not be great for holding long term. But a lot of people are on that platform probably buying the stock today. What do you think about this simply as an equity?
Well, Frank, that is exactly the point. And again, to me, what is your time horizon? I think that the notion of, a mature Robinhood providing a new generation with access to the financial markets is a really good long-term bet. At this valuation, it completely depends what you think the market's going to do. Again, I think the beta on this thing is going to be, 2-3 times the market. And so if the market goes well, Robinhood's going to be a spectacular stock. The problem for me, Frank, is that I don't have a strong sense that the market's going to be great. I mean, maybe it will, maybe it won't. There's so many cross currents right now that it just feels to me like that's a crapshoot. So personally, I'm not going to be engaged in the stock, but could I imagine a price at which I was really interested in it? Of course I could. Could I imagine one that made me think it was insane? Of course. Is the stock there today? There's just not enough data for me to make that evaluation, but there are a lot of other people who are out there who have really strong conviction, and God bless.
Roger, you're mentioning a more mature Robinhood. Let's talk about the people who are going to own it. They're going to build their assets. They're going to become older themselves. I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. A more mature Robinhood, is that going to become a mover of the market or a barometer of the market?
Well, I hope it becomes a barometer. I think being a mover of a market is just an incredibly dangerous place to be because markets eventually go down. And, the thing that I'm suggesting here is we've seen this movie before hundreds of times. Google's initial IPO did not go well. Facebook's IPO did not go well. There have been dozens of companies that had rough first days and rough first years and even rough first 2 or 3 years that went on to become spectacularly successful. And the issue here is, can they sustain this model where they're selling order flow in order to provide the service for free? And can they do that in a way that isn't harmful to the people who are trading on the platform? And what's been really interesting is for the last few years in a bull market, the system has worked really, really well. But it's not crazy to imagine a scenario where that stops working for a while. But at the scale they're at, with the capital that they have, they should be able to add additional products that reduce that volatility so that they become a barometer instead of the driver of everything.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.